Rogan discusses the pros and cons of using poverty as a motivator. Oh my God. Peak liberalism in action, dude. Joe Rogan. Oh, that's so good. I love that. Let's hear what Mr. Capitalist has to say about using poverty as a motivator.
Socially liberal. Like about a socially liberalist. Like I'm very socially liberal.
But I'm fiscally conservative.
About a socially liberalist you get.
A cap on that one, I think. But let's continue.
But more and more as I get older, I start looking at things from a perspective of being a pragmatist. And I start looking at things instead of looking at what do I hope people will do if you give them free money, and if you give them free education, if you give them free this and free that and take care of them, I start going, well, what does that do to the psyche?
Yeah.
And does that force laziness? Like if everyone in this country, let's imagine a world where everyone in this country gets $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Wow, Joe Rogan is so unique. I love his takes, man. He's so fucking unique. Exactly like every other boomer in this fucking dumbass country, dude. I swear to God. Wow, what an incredible outside of the bounds take from Joe. He truly does speak for, one, the common man, and two, certainly very different than the kinds of ideas that you would hear on MSNBC. At this point, if you're still listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, how is the Joe Rogan Experience any fucking different than MSNBC? They're also socially liberal, but fiscally deeply conservative. They're also not that liberal either, or MSNBC, CNN, or Fox News. This is just the same shit that you hear. You could hear this from your dad.
How much less productive would we be? It would probably be horrific. Now, I want to live in a world where...
This is universal basic income.
Yeah. I mean, I want to live in a world where no one has...
Yeah, Joe bringing up moral hazard, dude. What a new idea. Never heard that before from the American Enterprise Institute. Homie literally said, if we give the poor too much money, they won't be productive. They won't clean my toilets, which is hilarious because it is like the fundamental concept of neoliberalism. You're basically describing classical economics and you're making it seem as though this is a new take. That's great.
Has to worry about how to feed themselves. No one has to worry about how to put a roof over their head. Wouldn't that be nice if you didn't have to struggle and spend your resources thinking about how am I going to feed myself, and instead let me write the best book I can write. Instead, let me create the best film. Let me make.
Can you get paid on top of the 50,000?
Yes.
This? Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. But I don't think it would work. I think we would lose a lot of great people because I think there's a lot of.
Dude, what? I know what he's gonna say. I don't want to hear it. He's going to say a lot of people are they develop their personality through that struggle.
People that are motivated by desperation. They're motivated by this kick in the ass where you have, like, I have friends that had children, and once they had children, they became fucking hyper ambitious because they realized, oh my God.
Bro, he's literally doing the meme. It's like, go ahead, lower the minimum wage. It'll only make me grind harder. Go ahead, bro. Make life harder, bro. That only makes my Sigma grind set work extra hard.
I have to pay for this little baby. And then they realize, like,
it does turn you into an adult.
Yes.
Because you're like, these people are,
Bro, what the f do either of you know about being a fucking adult? Like, at least I recognize I'm a fucking baby, okay? I'm a very, very fortunate person. And people get mad at me and constantly repeat that shit. They're like, dude, you're such a baby. You're so spoiled. I'm like, yeah, no, I am. Okay, I get to work for myself. I get to have, like, the best life. It's sick. It's awesome. Then you turn around and you listen to Joe and he's like, yeah, poverty's a good motivator. He's just as much as a baby as I am. He's literally more financially successful than I am. And yet you think because he's saying the things that you are conditioned into believing, it's like, nah, he's right.
Yes. It's a completely different kind of feeling. I wonder, but I don't want people to live in poverty. Yeah. Poverty sucks. It's a terrible place to be desperate, and that causes a lot of crime. It causes a lot of violence. There's a lot that's attached to poverty that's horrific. However, it is an incredible motivator to get people to get moving and to do something. And desperation, much like loss and humiliation, are great motivators to make you work harder, to be better at whatever thing you were attempting to do that failed. There's something about being poor that forces people into this feeling, this hunger that causes...
Bro, he's just saying hunger is the best motivator. But then he literally sits across from Elon Musk and sucks his... You think Elon Musk was ever hungry? What do you mean hunger is the great motivator? If anything, hunger is something that you have to overcome, dumbass. And the entire purpose of the original hypothetical that you brought up with like giving everyone $50,000 would personally make people's lives much better and unlock the hidden potential that everyone has. That is at the basis of the equality of opportunity. These motherfuckers so regularly shit on the fundamental American principle, equality of opportunity. We have equal opportunity in this country, equal opportunity in this country. And then he literally will say, well, let's give equal opportunity to every single person. And then he's like, oh, well, hunger is a great motivator. Never mind. This is oh God, it is so incredibly fucking out of touch, dude.
Greatness in so many human beings, so many artists, so many great musicians, so many great comedians, and so many great people that have accomplished amazing things came out of nothing. And there's this inherent hunger and this desire to be someone, to be something that creates greatness that gets recognized by so many people and enriches so many people's lives. If you think about how many hip hop artists who are so poor became so rich and inspired so many people with their music, how many comedians did the same, how many people who wrote books.
Oh, what do I always say? I say meritocracy is a fucking lie, and it's a lie sold to you so you believe that your class positioning can change, even though all empirical evidence suggests the exact opposite. You are not likely to move up, and upward social mobility is absolutely way more difficult in a country like this as a consequence, a clear-cut consequence of a lack of amenities in comparison to European countries, social democracies, where social mobility, upward social mobility is way more likely. Even then, it's super limited, though. And meritocracy, that lie, can only be told by those examples of the once in every fucking million, billion people that have that rags the riches story. These guys made it. These guys made it, so you can too. It's such a stupid, flawed way of looking at the world. It is so hyper-capitalist because, as many in the chat also pointed out, well, what about all the hungry people that don't become successful, right? The hidden narrative, the underlying premise there is a really gross one. The underlying premise there is that they just didn't work hard enough, okay? You're just basically erasing probability from the equation. Probability, your spawn point, where you were born, your zip code, which country you were born in. That has a far greater emphasis on the likelihood of success. Not hunger, not anything else. Yes, people succeed in spite of poverty and never because of it. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
Have come out of utter poverty, and through the struggle and pain of their existence,
yeah, and like a million more of them don't. So those guys, I guess they didn't just, work hard enough. This is the most out of touch, mathematically speaking, this is the most out of touch commentary you could make. Joe has lost the last remaining bastion of humanity that he had within him and has now officially become the total capitalist pig dog. You know what I mean? Just oinking. Like, there were times when Joe, as a consequence of his own personal background, because he wasn't super rich when he was growing up, before he got really lucky and made it big in Hollywood, which is really a once in a lifetime, once in every million opportunity, right? Before he struck gold, actually worked in constructions. He was construction yards. He was on food stamps. Exactly. His parents were poor. Here's the thing. Because of that, he used to routinely advocate for the everyday guy, the layman, the average Joe. Okay? He did. He, at the very least, every now and then would arrive at the correct take because of his own personal experiences that he wasn't so far removed from. But I guess a $500 million Spotify contract really changes your mentality and the way you see the world, you know? Wild. It's insane to think if people's basic needs are cared for, they won't want to work for nicer things. I still want a PS5 on universal income. Yeah, I mean, there's that, and then there's other motivators as well. It is so heartless to think like a capitalist. It is so devoid of anything that makes us truly human when you think like a machine, okay? When you're like, no, the only way that someone will ever work is for survival, is to make money. Money is the primary motivator. That's it. There's no other way. You can't have a sense of ownership over your own business in the same way that Joe has, in the same way that I do. You know what I mean? You can't allow other people to have that. There can never be any other underlying reasons as to why someone wants to be successful. And if you don't make sure that the system is designed around keeping people subjugated in that way so that they're destined for a lifetime of wage slavery, they'll become poor leeches. They'll become unproductive workers.
Gave life to their words in a way that you're just not going to get sleeping on silk sheets.
Yeah, but are you sleeping on silk sheets making 50 grand a year?
No.
Probably not. So there's
No, you're
probably
not.
a number,
But
right?
yeah,
It's
there's
like a subsistence number.
but you don't. But then again, it's like how much encourages people to just exist.
That's a crazy argument, man. That's weird how all the spouting this desperation mentality are weird, out of touch rich people. Yeah, I just don't understand that at all, dude. The argument that poverty is a good motivator is the same as arguing that having a literal gun to your head is a good motivator. Fear of death and desperation does motivate people, but it's definitely not the best way and is often causing more harm than good. Rogan arguing that poverty has motivated many famous comedians and other successful people is a selection bias. He meets only with successful comedians who grew up in poverty, but the reason they were successful is not because they were poor as kids, but because they had immense talent, luck. Also, there are many more that grow up in poverty that never grow up to meet Rogan because they're dead or in jail and not performing at the Comedy Store. So good. Incredible fucking take. The thing is, a lot of his listeners and the 90 million people that listen to him are American. So because they're American, they personally see themselves not as like abused and exploited people, abused and exploited workers that are destined for a lifetime of servile subjugation, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires, you know? That's it. Joe Rogan and Chris Williamson debate the reasons for why the current generation is the first to be worse off than their parents. Damn, dude, this shit goes hard on mute. Damn, they're spitting, bro.
American dream still very much is a real deal, I think, and people are told that they can have blue sky vision and helicopter thinking and be whatever they want to be. But the problem that you have is
You think they're going to say woke mob did it? You think they're going to hit him with the woke mob?
when those people grow up and become adults and the world doesn't deliver
You think they're going to hit cancel culture? I hope they do. I hope they talk about the real problem, cancel culture.
them the thing that they were promised. They feel a delta between where they are and where they could be. They go, hang on a second. I was told that I was going to get the blue sky and the white picket fence and the blah, blah. And especially in a generation now that is the first one ever that's doing worse than its parents, that's going to cause a lot of people to look around and go, there's something wrong here. Structurally, there's something wrong.
That's interesting. Do you think when they say that this generation is doing worse than its parents, obviously that is collectively, right? So how are they looking at that and how are they making that distinction that this generation is doing worse? Is it they're doing worse financially? Is it doing worse in terms of their ability to buy a home? Like what?
I think that'll be two of the major factors, right? The fact that its real living wages have stayed static since the middle of the 1970s, something like that, and getting onto the property market at the moment is pretty difficult. But more than that as well, a lot of the things that we used to have, the traditions that we used to have for people, guys and girls, the roles that they used to take have been outsourced to the state. So if you think about the protector-provider role that men typically would have had, you don't need that so much when you've got a robust legal system and you've got a government that's going to look after people in case they fall through the cracks. You've got social safety nets and things like that here and there. People end up feeling listless and existentially lonely. So not only are they materially less effective, they're unable to get as much money, they're unable to find a house as easily, but then existentially the role that they have, something that makes them feel innate and of themselves, that doesn't feel like it's helping either.
That's interesting. So you think the
Bro, here, see now, the real problem impacting the younger generation nowadays is that they have too much safety nets. That's why in America, a country where there's demonstrably less upward social mobility than countries like Europe, where there's at least a crumb of upward social mobility, we have all the safety nets. That's why. Oh, wait, it's the exact opposite. In European social democracies, where there are better social safety nets, turns out, and you might be shocked to find out, there is more upward social mobility than the United States of America, a country with no social safety nets. So there is evidence, empirical evidence to suggest that the Australian man is wrong.
the robust legal system and social safety nets somehow make people listless. I don't think the robust legal system is that robust. And I don't think the safety systems, the safety nets that are in place, I don't think they're that effective. I don't think that people have as much faith in them as maybe you think. I know in the UK you have a better system in terms of like healthcare. People don't have to worry nearly as much about getting ill, about getting injured. I'm a big fan of having some kind of social healthcare system, and I think people in this country, particularly conservative people, are they're very concerned with the idea of socialism in any form. But I feel like socialism exists already in many forms that we accept, like the fire department. Right, that's clearly like a socialist idea. Like we all pay into it, and it serves everyone. We need it. We all accept it. And we agree to it. Public education, similar. It sucks. It's pretty shitty and ineffective. Depending.
Why is he doing this?
Of course, upon the neighborhood that you live in.
This is worse. This is worse than when he's just a douchebag because this has to be a crime when he makes me believe, okay, for a brief moment that inside of that thick, dense, ape-like skull is a brain. When he hits that fucking lib arc shit, it hurts me more, okay? I feel like I'm a victim. It makes me believe again that deep down inside, you know what I mean? Like there's a man out there who does have like rare moments.
You know, some neighborhoods have good public systems of education, but in terms of like a social safety net,
I spoke too soon.
like this, it's not that good. Like in America, I don't think I think in the worst case scenario, the worst worry is that a social safety net encourages people to not be ambitious and encourages people to like that's what people were concerned with when it came to things like universal basic income, right? They were concerned that it was going to alleviate people's ambition. And on the best case scenario side, what I was like looking at it with rose-colored glasses, I was like, maybe it'll encourage people to go out and do something they actually want to do for a living, and having their basic needs taken care of, like food and shelter, like maybe that will
he's seeing it. He's seeing the truth.
Give them whatever extra motivation they need to go out and do a thing that they really want to do, whether it's create music or become a painter or whatever the fuck it is.
Do you think that's the way that people are going to lean?
I think you have to have that in you, unfortunately. I think I know people that are just not ambitious. They're just lazy. And if they didn't have any social safety net, maybe they would develop some discipline. But if there is a social safety net, they don't. And the thing
What? That's an insane take, brother. That is an insane take. First of all, the argument unironically revolves around like, yeah, they should die. If people have no ambition, they should just die. The second part of that argument is true, okay? Allowing people to prosper. If a society's ultimate goal, okay, as a collective, is to make people prosper and plug the holes, then you need to create at least a base level of material equality. Have some of these needs met. Because you don't know if the dude growing up in fucking O Block, if given the opportunity, is going to become the next NASA scientist. You just don't know. Right now, we have no way of knowing. We haven't tried it. We will never try it. As a matter of fact, that inequality is literally built into the system. And there are still plenty of people that come from backgrounds such as that overcome that incredible amount of structural inequality. So clearly there are plenty of people there. I mean, even, dude, Kia Boys is a great example of this, right? These are like 14-year-olds that steal cars regularly, okay? These are like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that are stealing cars nonstop. They are so proficient. They're so good at stealing cars and driving it like psychos. That's what happens when you are rudderless. That's what happens when you have a lot of initiative, because it does still take initiative to be able to fucking steal a car, okay? Not laziness. Problem is, they have nowhere to have their ambitions expressed. No one is fucking steering them towards something that's productive. Socialists encouraging theft, nothing new. Yeah, no, I know. Well, ironic, because the entire worldview of socialism or Marxism unironically revolves around the real theft that occurs in the form of wage theft, and stopping that by redesigning the economic organization of society so it will benefit people like you, dangerous individual who probably is a worker and will remain a worker for the rest of his life. The writer grew up and lived in the Netherlands, fantastic social mobility, first generation immigrant parents making minimum wage, living in a terrible neighborhood, still was able to go to university and now make $150K a year at 23, doing 3D design, working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week because I enjoy it so much. Probably wouldn't be possible in the US. So the point I'm trying to make is that, like, I'm not pro car theft, obviously. Those dudes, under different circumstances, those kids under different circumstances would be using that ambition, that initiative for something productive. That's the point. But when a society has these kinds of systemic failures, then they just end up getting in the system early on, and then they're destined for a lifetime of slavery within the prison system, within the criminal justice system. Why? Because they were born in the fucking wrong neighborhood. They had no control over that. Neither did you. An adequate society with adequate social safety nets would make sure that every single individual at least has the capacity to truly exercise their best skill set. That is how we all prosper. Except society is literally designed in a way to ensure that there is an underclass that routinely has to be enslaved. Yes, zip codes do predict success the best. Yes.